many of us, if not all of us, are communicating based on how we saw our parents or our role models in life communicating. It's probably likely that you saw your parents growing up fighting, arguing. I'm willing to guess that communication in your household wasn't the greatest. Whether we like it or not, we have picked up communication from those earlier years in our life. So it's up to us now in our adulthood to unlearn those behaviors, to rewire our brain to do something better, to create more healthiness in our communication, which then creates a more healthy relationship. I'm Rachel, and you're listening to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. Hey friends, I am coming to you on this very gloomy Tuesday here in Michigan. It's very rainy here and cloudy, and the lightning is like crazy and very windy. So I don't know if you know, if you follow me on social media, you see I've been coaching softball for my niece's team. It's a 12U team. And it's been quite fun. This week is our last week of games. And I don't know if tonight's game is going to hold or not because it is quite rainy. And those fields might not be so well with the puddles, or it might be a nice muddy night. So we shall see. Anyways, I've been sitting on this episode for a long time, and finally I got a few minutes here. This is going to be a short and sweet one here before I get my clients started for the day. But we're talking all things communication on this episode. I launched a freebie on my website. Let's see, a couple of months ago, actually, probably end of 2023. And it's a really great tool that I've been utilizing with a lot of my clients. So many of my clients that I'm working with, we walk through this communication guide together, and then literally they're printing it out, they're putting it on their refrigerators, they're bringing it to sessions with them, or even utilizing it within their household to have just deeper conversations and to be able to hold space for each other, to be able to come at conversations without defensiveness or criticism or just all of those things that you want to avoid in communication, right? Stonewalling, name calling, big angry emotions, things like that. So I figured in this episode, I will kind of cover some of the things that are on the communication guide. It is broken down into a nice flow chart for you, but I think after hearing this episode, it might just make some of the things on there make a little bit more sense to you. And then I can offer some clarification to some of these things, kind of where I got them. So I created this guide based on many trainings, many books, many podcasts that I have listened to that are on the topic of communication. And this is specifically, I guess, yes, this would be within relationships, intimate relationships and partnerships specifically, but certainly some of the tools that, I'm covering in this can certainly be used in work, friendship conversations, talking to your kids, really communication in general. So anyway, so I compiled all of these different things, these different tools that I've heard from other people, and I put it into this communication guide. So where I start with this is at the beginning, I give you two different sentence stems that you can start with, because here's the reality. If I send the text, and maybe we've probably all gotten this before, or maybe you've been on the person that has sent this text out before, or even verbally said this to somebody, but it's the "we need to talk." Right? We need to talk, ... Immediately that sparks like, oh shit, in somebody's minds, right? The alarm bells go off. It's like, okay, what did I do? What's wrong? Why is this person upset? Why are they upset at me? It is a common one that I hear from people. And so these sentence stems really help you get away from that we need to talk it can really provoke fear into people right away. So the two sentence stems that I give you in here is, when's a good time for us to talk about ... When's a good time for us to talk about our upcoming vacation? When's a good time for us to talk about finances? When's a good time for us to talk about our sex life? When's a good time for us to talk about what the kids' summer activities are, right? Like insert the ... insert whatever the topic is. So then that person knows ahead of time what that conversation is going to look like. So they're not feeling like they're blindsided. They know, okay, we're talking about the vacation, we're talking about finances, whatever it might be. So that's a good one if you have something very precise that you want to bring up with your partner, or again, whoever you are trying to communicate in this scenario. But it gives them the awareness. It allows them to prepare. It allows them to not spark that defensiveness, and it allows them to prep for the conversation. So that's a really nice one. Again, if you have a specific topic that you're wanting to talk to a person about. Now, the next sentence stem is really more of a generalized one, and that is, when's a good time for us to connect? And I like this one too, especially for couples, because that word connection is something that I'm talking about constantly with the couples and with the clients individually that I'm working with, because connection is really what we're all seeking. So when's a good time for us to connect? That can be to have a conversation, that could be to spend some quality time together, which, by the way, having deep, intimate, vulnerable conversations is part of quality time. And often I hear from my female clients what they are craving from their male partners is that deep, intimate, vulnerable conversation. So when's a good time for us to connect? Again, this is a very generalized sentence starter. And this might be like, you don't really know, or maybe you have many things that's gonna come up in this conversation, or you are truly just wanting to check in with your partner. You want to connect with them. Hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's life going? Right? So those are two options for you, again, to avoid the we need to talk, or to avoid any other sentence stems. Oftentimes too, if we're upset or we're activated about something, we just go in with the attacking, right, of the person. So really this is, and I forgot to say in the beginning, this is a very different way of communicating. This isn't necessarily your ping pong communication in the sense where I say what I want to say, and then you say what you want to say, and then I say what I want to say, you say, right, that back and forth. This is, I have something to say, I have something to share, and so I'm the speaker, and then my listener is holding space for that thing, for these emotions, these things that I'm going to share, that I'm going to unload, that I'm going to process with them. So that's really the kind of dynamic. It's more of a space holding container so that both people ultimately feel seen, felt, heard, validated, all of the things that we want to feel in communication. Now, I give an analogy in here, and this analogy, I believe, came from Vanessa and Xander Marin in their book Sex Talks, which I really enjoyed that book. Listened to that one on Audible not too long ago, and great book for couples that are wanting to kind of double click on their intimate life. So HALT is an analogy that Vanessa and Xander use in that book, and when they're talking about communication, and that stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And they give the advice, and I'm going to piggyback on this, but do not engage if any of these emotions are present, especially if it is deep conversation. You're wanting for your person to feel present that you're communicating with. You yourself want to feel present in that conversation. You want to be heard, felt, seen, validated, all of those things. Because if you are hungry, you're distracted. If you are angry, you are not hearing anything. If you're lonely, right, you're coming at it from a different lens. And if you're tired, again, most of these fall into the category of distraction. But I really, really, really highly advise to call HALT in your relationship if you need to. Stop, don't engage in conversation, be honest and upfront with your partner if any of these are feeling present for you. And this can be going into the conversation, right? Like you might feel hungry and your partner says, hey, when, we said now's the time that we were going to talk. Feel safe enough with yourself and in your relationship that you can say, hey, yeah, I know that we honor this, but can I get a quick bite to eat? Or can we do this over dinner? Because I'm really feeling hungry and I really want to show up as best as I can for you and for this conversation. Or maybe you're angry from work, or you just came home and you were stuck in traffic, whatever it might be. So the analogy HALT, a lot of my couples have just taken HALT as it is. And in the middle of conversation, they will say like, hey, I'm calling HALT, right? I'm calling a pause. I'm waving my white flag, whatever that might be. But essentially that's what HALT means. And then that's indicating to the person that they're feeling one of those four things and that they need a pause. Now, use your best judgment on this, but if you're calling HALT, that might mean you need a quick breather, right? You need to go outside, you need to get a snack, you need to get a nap, whatever it is, you need to sleep on it, again, use your best judgment. But sometimes, especially when the angry one is present here, and even the lonely one, the angry and lonely one, when those are super high and a person calls HALT, that conversation might have to be tabled until the next day, next evening, whatever it is. But I'm going to put a little asterisk next to your HALT. If you're calling HALT, if I'm the person that's calling HALT, it is my responsibility to then reinitiate that conversation. I called HALT, the ball is in my court. So that means I am responsible for coming back to my partner and saying, hey, okay, I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling good. Do you feel like you're in a good space? Let's finish this, right? Like let's get back to our conversation. That just allows people that break, that time to process, that time to recharge, do whatever they needed to do, again, to come back to the conversation feeling present. So calling HALT again. So I said asterisk. So let's see. Didn't write myself notes for this episode. So we're just, I was going to say free balling it, but that's not what I meant. What is the word I'm looking for? Doing it on a whim. I cannot, my brain, the rain is very distracting right now. It's okay. So whoever calls HALT is responsible for coming back to it. And the other thing I was going to say is the sooner the better. This isn't, I'm going to give it a week and I'm going to revisit this conversation, because the longer that time goes on, the bigger that this conflict or that feeling of HALT is going to get, right? And especially if you're using HALT in a time where, again, it is anger that's present and it was a more highly activated conversation. First of all, you're doing yourselves a favor by not engaging, because if I'm seeing red, you're seeing red, right? We're just butting heads. There's literally like no progress is made in conversations like that. So making sure that you're revisiting the conversation in a timely manner. And again, whoever is calling HALT, it is your responsibility to then reinitiate that conversation. And some of my couples even say, like, can we table that for now if it's tiredness, right? Can we table this and can we revisit Saturday morning? Can we revisit over breakfast? Can we go for a walk, tomorrow afternoon and finish the discussion then? So really, again, thinking about where your needs are to where you can be feeling fully present in getting back to this conversation. Now, if you don't like the word HALT, some people have came up with just like a code word, so I don't want to share specific words that clients have used because I don't want to break confidentiality or anything, but think of your own, like I'm calling squid, I'm calling chapstick, I'm looking at things, I'm calling plant, right? Like think of your own code word if HALT doesn't feel good to you, and that can be used. Okay. Now in this communication guide, we go through these foundational pieces. Again, it's set up into a flow chart. So I'll go through these briefly with you, but basically first, what you want to do, you want to prepare yourself. You want to get grounded, especially if going into this conversation that it might be a heavier conversation, right? If you're talking about your sex life, if you're talking about finances, if you're talking about, your kid failing school or having to go to summer school or getting suspended, right? Like heavier conversations like that, definitely make sure that you're getting yourself grounded. But in general, little reminder to take some daily time and practice to just get grounded throughout the day, recenter yourselves. So you're coming at it, you're grounded, you're checking yourselves to make sure that none of those HALT words are present for you. And then you're getting clear on what your intentions are. You're sharing those with your partner. So my intention is for us to discuss how our quality time has looked lately and how we can better connect with one another. My intention for this is that we can talk about what we're going to do about all of the sports our kid wants to play this summer and how we're going to manage that time. My intention is to discuss this family barbecue. I have some feelings that I'm feeling about it, and I want to be able to share those with you so that we're on the same page, right? So whatever your intention is, you're stating that up front, you're sharing that with your partner. Again, so this is so that both of you are on the same page and nobody is feeling blindsided in the conversation. And the other aspect of this is that you are a team, especially if this is a partnership conversation between you and your significant other. You are a team. You have to start looking at your relationship, conflict, decisions, all of that as a team aspect within your relationship. This is not a me versus you. This is not a me versus this problem. It's not just a me problem. Most things in a relationship are a we problem. So you are a team. If at the end of the day, if me and my husband are having a conversation and I walk away from that conversation like, okay, I won, I got my way, that is probably meaning that my husband in that case then lost that conversation. That would be an example of a win-lose. And that is not a win for us as a couple. So we really try hard in our relationship. And again, this takes practice. We are not perfect. Just this weekend when we were out on the boat, we had conflict. I was very activated in the boat scenarios. I have literal PTSD from some boating experiences that we had, yet it is my most favorite thing and activity to do in the summer. But there was miscommunication there. I was feeling very activated. I was feeling angry. I was feeling fearful. And I came at my conflict with my husband in an attacking manner, into which then he felt defensive, and it did not go well, right? So really coming at this from a team aspect into where we both feel like it is a win-win for each of us, and that it is a win for us as a couple. It's a win for our marriage, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be feeling like you're on the losing end. Your partner doesn't want to feel like they're on the losing end. It's just not a good feeling. So making sure that you are coming at conversation, conflict, all of those things through that lens of being on the same team. Okay, so when I was speaking to the concept of like, this is a different way of communicating, this is not that ping pong style of communication. In this next statement here, it says to establish the masculine and the feminine. So in this case, if you are the listener, if you are the one that is holding space, you are the masculine. If you are the person that has the thing that you want to share, you are the feminine. So the speaker is the feminine, the listener is the masculine. And at the end of this guide, I have some tools and tips for you to be able to be a really good listener and to also be a really good sharer. Because yeah, there's you can be a crappy listener, we all know that, but you can also be a crappy sharer and a crappy presenter, I guess, if you will, would be another word for it. Okay, so you have your masculine, your feminine. Essentially, the person that's saying the sentence, when's a good time for us to talk about blah, 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 they're probably going to be the feminine. They're probably going to be the one that is sharing. Okay, so then if you are sharing your fears around whatever this thing is, and this might come up and it might not come up, but if you have fear around this thing, again, if we're talking about sex life, so I'm sharing the sentence that says, I'm scared this will upset you because we've talked about our sex life before and the conversations have not ended well. I'm scared this will upset you because I feel like I'm always the problem, whatever it might be, right? But I'm scared this will upset you because blah, blah, blah. Or I'm scared this conversation in general will upset you, right? So you're sharing that fear up front. So that way, again, this helps to disarm the other person. Because if I share my fear, like I'm scared you're going to be mad at me if I share, that helps the other person to prepare, and that helps to disarm that defensiveness. Because if I share that, the last thing my partner is going to do is want to validate what I'm saying. Like, yes, you should be scared, right? Like that's not healthy partnership. So sharing your fears up front, and then also starting slow, including some baggage if there's baggage that's present, right? So saying something like, I know we've already talked about this and I'm still having trouble with it. Or I know we just talked about this last week and it's still coming up for me. I still have more to say around it. I still have more I want to discuss around it. So again, sharing that baggage upfront is also another tool to help disarm any concept of like this going poorly. Okay, and then as I said, starting slow, one thing at a time. You're not unloading everything onto this person all at once. Yes, they're in the masculine, they're there to be the space holder, but it is really hard to hold space for somebody when you're like, here, now I'm here, now I'm here, now boom, 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 right? And you're unloading all of these things. And this thing happened 2 months ago and I'm still mad about it, right? It's like, focus on one thing at a time. Allow that person to really hold that space for you, validate your emotions, problem solve whatever needs to be done. And again, whatever needs to be done should have been stated in that intention. And let me go back to that for a minute. When you're sharing your intention, you can also share up front, my intention is to discuss the incident on the boat. I'm trying to think of my own life, the incident on the boat that happened this weekend. And my intention around that is just to share how I'm feeling about it and to feel, I want to feel validated. I don't necessarily want to problem solve, but I need you to hear how I'm feeling about it or how that event made me feel. Or right, kids' activities, right? So my intention is that we come up with a solution and we can figure out carpooling and blah, blah, blah. So you're sharing your intention up front so that they know where this is going. So again, avoiding unloading all at once onto somebody and sharing one thing at a time. Now, this next part, you've probably heard this a million times, and this is a very basic communication, healthy communication style, but using that I feel, I need language. So I feel X, I need Y. I feel lonely, I need connection. I feel angry, I need to discuss the weekend incident. I feel sad, I need to talk about my depression lately, right? Like different examples. So sharing from that I feel, I need, and really trying to avoid the words you, because you don't want this to feel like you're finger pointing. You are wanting to go in this conversation to feel validated. That is what most people want when they're in conversation, is to feel, again, heard, seen, valued, validated, all of those things. And so using I feel, I need language helps you to do that. So just like you want to avoid that word you, as in your finger pointing, also avoiding words like always and never. These words can cause immediate defensiveness, and also they're just very unrealistic. So if I say, like, you always come home late after bowling, you never let me finish a sentence, you never want to hang out with me on the weekends, you're always different when you're around your friends, you never want to help me with the kids, right? Like whatever it is, always and never really, really, really need to be plucked out of your vocabulary in this frame, because again, defensiveness. So if I say you never let me finish, right, my partner is going to be like, I'm literally listening to you right now, right? Like they're going to come up with examples of all the times that they have let you finish, because that, again, that is sparking defensiveness in them. And again, unrealistic. Somebody doesn't always do something, and somebody doesn't never do something, especially in this case, you never let me finish. Probably not realistic, right? You always, I forgot what are the other sentence stems I use, but you always act different around your friends. Probably not always, right? Like, so really, again, plucking these words out of your vocabulary as much as you can. So the biggest piece of this, so again, let me set the scene. So I am the sharer, you are the listener. Listener is holding space, they're listening, they're checking in, they're making eye contact, they're not distracted, they are listening really well at what the person is sharing. Me as the sharer, I am being precise, I'm sharing one thing at a time, I'm using I feel, I need language. The next piece of this that's going to come into play is that active listening. So taking some brief pauses throughout the conversation to where your partner can paraphrase back to you what it is that you're saying is super helpful to help you feel validated and heard throughout that conversation, but also to ensure that you are on the same page. Because what can happen here, if I'm sharing and let's say I drop a you never do this, blah, 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 immediately that person is now latched on, that listener is now latched on to this I never do this, and they're feeling that defensiveness. They no longer are hearing anything that you say after that statement. So when you take those small pauses for active listening, and active listening essentially is repeating back, paraphrasing what the person is saying to you. So, okay, just so I'm making sure I'm hearing you, you're feeling upset about the boating weekend this weekend. You feel that you are unsafe, you are fearful because of the waves, you were not sure how to handle the situation because our friends were around, blah blah blah, right? So and then I'm going to say yes. Okay, and then my partner is going to say, okay, what else? Is there more? Right? My partner, my masculine, the masculine in this dynamic is there to hold that space. They're there to allow that person to get everything off of their chest, lay it all out on the table as best as they can. And the person that is sharing is going to do that if they felt, heard, and seen. Okay, so active listening, I use it, we go through this all the time in my work with couples. It is a very, very good tool to have, and again, using in work, friendships, relationships, like it is a really, really good communication tool to have. So paraphrasing back to your partner, just again to make sure that you're on the same page, make sure that they are feeling felt, heard, seen. And the other part of this too, when you are sharing the what else is there more, if this is a particularly hot topic, the person that's sharing has some skepticism around it. They're unsure how the conversation is going to go. They feel fearful of how the conversation is going to go. And again, if it's particularly the heavy thing that they're sharing, like I'm not happy with our sex life, and I share that with my partner, and then they say, "What else?" I'm like, "Whoa." Right? How often can you think of conversations that in your life that may have gone wrong to where you shared something super heavy, your partner got really defensiveness, they stonewalled you, they stormed out of the room, right? They attacked and said, "Well, I'm pissed because blah blah, you never get off," or whatever it is, or they start to fire at you. What if in those times your partner validated what you said and then asked you, "What else? Tell me more. Is there more? Do you have more to say?" Right? So they gave you that space to continue going. Because here's what I find too, when I share that initial thing with my partner, again, we're sharing in small chunks. When I share that initial thing, I'm just like scratching the surface. I'm testing the waters. I'm seeing how this is going to go. And if I am responded back with the "what else is there more," I'm like, okay, now I feel safe in the conversation. I feel allowed to keep going. I feel seen. I feel validated. You're going to hear me use these words repetitively again and again and again. But that's what those words do. That's what that "what else" does for that person that is sharing. You are essentially getting the full truth. I should use that in air quotes, the full truth. But really, it's like they feel that opportunity to be able to share and unpack and process all of it, right? Not just we're scratching the surface. Okay. So again, throughout, you are checking in with your energy, you're checking in with your emotions, remembering that HALT, taking that pause if you need it. And again, to validate the pause, especially in heavier conversations, right? It might be a lot for you to process. So you might have to say, "Hey, let me call HALT. Can we pause real quick? That was a lot for me to take in. I want to go for a quick walk. I want to get a quick drink. Like, just can I have a minute to process that?" Right? And then come back to it, not waiting too long. Okay. Now, when you've done that a few times, right, share has shared, you've practiced active listening, you're asking what else, you're validating, you're checking in, all is good. At the end, when the share is completely finished, and again, this is if it wasn't stated in the intention, the listener will now ask, "What do you need right now? How can we put a bow on this? How can we wrap this up in a nice little cute box?" Right? Essentially is what you're asking here. So again, that "what do you need right now?" I'm not going into problem solving mode. I often see this in relationships, right? I share a problem, I share how I'm feeling, my partner wants to solve it. Sometimes, and most of the time, I would say, we just want to feel heard. We just want to feel validated. I don't need a solution. I just need to feel like you understand where I'm coming from and you, again, have validated my concerns and how I'm feeling. So again, when the share is completely finished, they're going to ask, "What do you need right now?" I need a hug. I need a quickie. I need to go for a walk. I need some water. I need a vacation. I need to reach out to my friend. What do you need right now? Okay. And then allow space. If this is conversation around, behavior changes in the relationship or conflict in the relationship, allow space and time for that change to happen. This isn't, fantasy world where you have one conversation and then boom, all is well in the world. And specifically, I want to give double click on this because you need to be having constant conversations like this in your relationship. If things are feeling uneasy, if there's conflict, if there's heaviness, right? Like, and it doesn't always have to be bad things. Talking through the wins, talking about the really great sex that you had or the really wonderful weekend that you had together, right? When's a good time for us to connect? When's a good time for us to revisit, that epic weekend that we just had? It doesn't always have to be bad things, but allowing time and space for this to happen, because if you're having constant check-in conversations like this is how you stop the pattern of, we have a conversation, my whatever that thing was, they do it really well, they're listening to me, we're not fighting for a couple weeks, and then boom, old patterns set in. If you are having consistent conversations and you're checking in with each other consistently, that is how you break the pattern. That is how you break the cycle of repetitive patterns happening. So you have to create space to have conversations like this. Another tool, so this communication guide is available for free on my website, rachelmaine.com. Go under resources. You'll also see my other resource on there, the relationship regroup. The relationship regroup is your weekly check-in to do with your partner, and that is the perfect tool and opportunity to create space for conversations like these to happen. And that check-in guide gives you some relationship foundational pieces and gives you some sentence stems and questions to ask one another to see what things in your relationship do need to be discussed, what's coming up on your calendar, what needs extra planning, what finances need to be talked about, how are we doing on our savings goals. Do we want to start doing yoga together? It's summer. What activities do we want to get done around the house? What vacations do we want to take? All of these things, it gives you those things to be able to check in with. So again, allowing for time and space for the change to happen, continuing to have the conversations with each other, creating space for that to be able to happen. And then having compassion for one another, right? You are both doing the best that you can. Communication is fucking hard. It is not something that we're taught in school. We're definitely not taught communication in partnerships, right? And so many of us, if not all of us, are communicating based on how we saw our parents or our role models in life communicating. It's probably likely that you saw your parents growing up fighting, arguing. We know what the divorce rate in the US is right now. And so I'm willing to guess that communication in your household wasn't the greatest. So whether we like it or not, we have picked up communication from those earlier years in our life. So it's up to us now in our adulthood to unlearn those behaviors, to rewire our brain to do something better, to create more healthiness in our communication, which then creates a more healthy relationship. So having compassion, again, you're doing the best that you can. This is hard. Relationships are hard. Relationships take work. It would be wonderful if we all just lived in a fantasy world where conflict never happened and everybody's needs were met and everybody felt validated and all of those things. And while that can become your reality, it's going to take work to get there. All right. So at the end of this, again, just to recap, you have some listener tips at the end. So I mentioned a few of these, but maintaining eye contact, showing genuine interest, being patient, letting them speak, not interjecting, not interrupting them. Remember, your job as the listener is the masculine. You are holding space. You are listening. Don't assume what the other person is going to say. That's another one too. If I'm assuming what the other person is going to say, I'm already creating my response in my head and I'm not actually listening to what they're actually saying right now. So avoid planning that response in your head. Paying attention to the nonverbal cues. So pay attention if your partner is looking away, if they're fidgeting, right? Like when they're sharing, you can kind of pick up on maybe some of this nervousness, or sadness or happiness again, right? Like it doesn't always have to be bad things. And then again, practice that active listening throughout. The what else, what else, what else, what I hear you saying is blah, blah, blah. So just so we're on the same page, you're saying blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then as a share, getting clear and grounded on your intentions, being direct, don't skate around what it is you really want to say, sort of the beating around the bush. Actively engage with the person that you're talking to using eye contact and gestures, avoiding those words like always and never. Cannot stress that one enough. Using that I feel, I need language, and then allowing room for the change to take place. Okay. So again, rachelmaine.com, you can download this communication guide for free. Also, the relationship regroup, the other tool that I mentioned, is available at rachelmaine.com as well under the resources page. And if you are in Michigan, you know I am accepting health insurance now. I have my own private practice now, wellness expertise. And so I'm working with individuals and couples within Michigan. Let's see, I take Blue Cross Blue Shield, Blue Care Network, Priority Health, United. I think those are the four major ones that I've got with people right now. But again, if you're wanting to do more work on this, because yes, while this relationship regroup and the communication guide is a great tool for you, sometimes people need more help with it, right? You want to be able to practice. You want to have somebody there to be able to help process different situations with you. And so, somebody like me, who is a sex and relationship therapist, coach, mentor, I can assist you with that. So, if you're looking for just a deeper way to do this work, check me out. You can go to rachelmaine.com. You can email me. You can Instagram me. You can find me on psychologytoday.com, whatever you want. And if you want to work together, I would love to work with you. And additionally, if you're not in Michigan, we can do private pay as well, if that is an option for you as well. So no matter where you are, if you want to work with me, I'm available. Let's do this. Love, love, love helping people with communication, especially. And again, it takes some thick skin. Again, this is years and years and years. If you're 30, if you're 40, it is 40 years, 30 years, 50 years of unlearning shitty communication habits. Okay. So take some time, get you a mentor, get you somebody that can help support you this. And yeah, that's all. So go to rachelmaine.com, grab these free resources, contact me if you want to work more in depth together, and I will catch you on the next podcast. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you really fucking loved it, make sure to tag me on social media at @TheRachelMaine. I'll see you next week.